You wanna know what I think? I think y'all are too happy. I think y'all are too comfortable reading your favorite rom-coms, watching your favorite animes right now when you forget that we're in April. We're supposed to be in the most depressing month of the entire year. I mean, this is when you're supposed to complete your yearly rewatch of Your Lie in April. And tell me, have you completed your mission so far? No, I didn't think so. So, I got something that's gonna prime you for that heartbreak. I got something that's gonna be dark, something a little bit twisted, because I want you to feel that little pit in your stomach when you're watching a story, okay? That's why today, I wanna present you with a rom-com that is the literal definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm talking about a little manga called It's a Little Late, But I've Fallen in Love with My Childhood Friend. And oh boy, is that a little bit misleading of a title. Hi y'all, I'm Randy. And I gotta tell you, I haven't been this blindsided for an anime or a manga in years, probably ever since I first saw the twist that happens in Berserk. This series hits you like a freight train, because with a name like this, you're gonna assume it's a cookie cutter romance that's just as normal as can be. I mean, literally, it says it in the title. The story's about a childhood friend, and we're introduced to them right away. We start off with our two main characters, Hikari and Yuu. And we follow this story as it's formatted like a regular slice of life. I mean, these chapters start with only a handful of pages. And just starting off the first chapter, we see that Hikari has finally noticed something about her childhood friend. She noticed that now she actually has feelings for Yuu. While doing normal things that they would do every single day, now she's noticing that she can't help but feel a little bit awkward, a little bit uncomfortable, because now she realizes that she feels something that she didn't before. And so for the first couple chapters, we follow Hikari as she's coming to terms with this new realization about herself, how she's actually gonna now be interacting with Yuu, and how she just becomes an utter complete girl failure. I mean, look at this girl over here. She just ends up in just weird situation after weird situation. Yeah, she tries to wake up Yuu, and what happens? She just misses her opportunity completely because she doesn't even recognize that he's actually stood up from bed already and left. Can't even call that a swing and a miss because she didn't even step up to bat. Or there's the other time where she's watching him through the window that they have because, you know, as childhood friends, they share the same kind of balcony, and she's watching him as he starts to do normal guy stuff, you know? I mean, yeah, it definitely makes sense why that would be weird for her. And on, we're led under the assumption that Yuu also likes Hikari. I mean, we're given little tidbits and little hints throughout that Yuu's interested in a girl that he's known previously this entire time. When that Gohai comes up to him and starts flirting with him and asking why they can't be together, the reason that he gives is that there's someone else. And since the stories only showcase these two characters, really, I mean, who else could it be? All this keeps continuing, and Hikari actually does something that a lot of rom-com protagonists don't do, in terms of pretty early on, she asks out Yuu. I mean, and everything looks like it's going pretty swimmingly for about the first 20 chapters. Everything is going phenomenally. Until Chapter 21 rolls around and we realize that we've been led astray this entire time. Because as Hikari invited Yuu to come over to her school festival to actually enjoy everything that they've been doing, she doubles back at the very end to try and see if she can actually find Yuu. And then when she finds the classroom where he's in, she sees Yuu kissing her best friend. Oh boy, drama. And no, it's not your regular kind of drama. This ain't no regular NTR or something like that. This is completely different on a whole nother level. Because let me tell you, the story shifts completely. You do a full 180 right here, because now the story is not about Yuu and Hikari. The series is about Yuu and Yami. Someone who we actually have been introduced in the past, but only as a side character. I mean, it's a blink and you miss it moment. She's a character that comes in, almost steals Hikari's first kiss, but, you know, avoids it. Who knew that this character was gonna play such a vital role to the story overall? And of course, the second that you see this, you're gonna think, oh, she's definitely gonna be the bad guy. She cannot have any good means whatsoever. And that's where the genius of this manga actually comes in, because it doesn't make Yami a villain. Not in the slightest. It actually makes her a troubled kid. Someone that actually failed her grade and actually has to repeat again and is thinking about quitting. But before deciding on anything really, she meets a certain boy on a certain day right outside. This is Yami's first introduction to Yuu as a person, and I gotta be honest, the author does such a fantastic job with these two characters over here, and they play so well off each other that you can't help but feel the chemistry between them. Arguably, even more so than what you're gonna see with Hikari and Yuu. If the first half of the story, the first 20 chapters, were really cookie cutter, the second half is when it gets so much more complex. I mean, you can kind of base this off of their names too. Hikari, bright, sunny personality. She's pretty direct and clear as day right there. While Yami represents gloominess, this darkness that's inside of this girl. And that's the perfect way to describe it. Yami is this character that has a extremely self-destructive personality. The second that she meets Yuu, she pretty much takes him to a love hotel and attempts to, you know, do things. But it doesn't end up going the way that we think it does. I mean, in this time, Yuu couldn't really do anything, and then he talks about how he actually has feelings for another girl, for a childhood friend that he's had for several years. He opens up directly to Yami in this situation, and for the first time, it seems, Yami also opens up to someone, and that happens to be Yuu. She talks about how her stepfather is abusive and actually tried to SA her. You see that this girl has a shit ton of trauma to her, and that this dialogue between them sharing this moment over here, is something that Yami desperately needed to do. She needed to unload all of these feelings, all of these things that were eating her up inside, because if not, who knows where she would have ended up. We learned so much in such a short period of time that it's crazy that we now understand her entire perspective. Once they leave the love hotel and actually try to make their way home, instead of Yuu being the person that has some sort of regret, it's Yami. She wants to keep this going. She wants to keep up this bond, this special moment that they had, because she knows that if she lets him go at this very second, they're probably never gonna talk again. And so she pretty much seduces him right on the spot. And yeah, it's pretty awful for Hikari, but that's just how the situation goes. I mean, this is well before Yami ever met Hikari. This was just how the story ended up being. I mean, sometimes anime, manga, other stories, it make you forget that these characters have other lives. You know, it's not just what you see on page that actually is active in the world going on. These characters, you know, they have other people that they interact with. They can definitely have other side quests that end up happening to them. It's just that this story ended up taking us into that back alley, into showing us everything that happened without Hikari's knowing. I mean, in the beginning, we see that Hikari said that something inside of Yuu changed, and that's what caused her to eventually grow into liking him more and more. And we start to notice that that change is because of Yami. She's the reason that he's become this kind of more confident person. And what we're seeing is that they actually had a really cute relationship together. It's just that, of course, with all the trauma that she has, Yami is definitively a very toxic person to be with. I mean, does she love Yuu? Of course she does. But she has the baggage of her mother's terrible marriage and everything that's going on in her personal life that she doesn't know if she even wants to continue this anymore, because she can't keep up with the stress and she doesn't want to drag down Yuu with her. Breaking up with someone through a text message after telling them that you potentially want to move in with them is a terrible way to go about it. And I just can't help but think that Yuu was left in a terrible, confused kind of situation. It would make sense if he wasn't in a good headspace after any of this, because damn, that is some huge emotional whiplash in that entire situation right there. And after she hangs up that entire portion of her with Yuu, then she meets Hikari in the exact same spot that she met Yuu. Another person that ends up being incredibly important to her life. Who knew that she was the girl that Yuu was referring to? She didn't have a single clue, and she cannot be at fault for doing what she did. Hikari, being the bright, optimistic person that she is, wants to immediately befriend Yami, but Yami, again being the polar opposite, tries everything in her power to make that not happen. I mean, here, this is something that I can't really defend too much from Yami's end, but one of the worst things that she ever does to anyone in this is when she actually puts Hikari's information on a sugar daddy dating website, where she gets this businessman to come up and ask if she's the girl that he met online. I mean, that's a situation that could have gone terribly in 100 different ways, and I'm glad that they didn't go in any kind of direction like that. That is one thing that I can honestly say is not cool whatsoever. Yami did something incredibly dangerous over here. But Hikari keeps on going. She keeps on chipping away more and more at Yami to try and get more out of her, until eventually they get to the point where we see them in the beginning of the manga where they're actually best friends. Which of course is the hardest part of it all, because at chapter 36, of course, we cut back to real time right after the events of that kiss. And it shows us that where the story's heading now is probably a really depressing route. Hikari is probably now a changed person after what she saw, because how is it possible that her best friend is now stealing her childhood friend? Well, that's how she would interpret it in her eyes. Yami's pretty much put the puzzle pieces together the second that she saw Yuu's name on a contact list. And now we just have to see how this melodrama or like soap opera kind of story plays out, because now I am so incredibly invested with what these characters are gonna do. Because this is a story that I can't really tell what way it's gonna go. The twist is so unexpected that if you're already accustomed to reading manga like this, that hits you like a freight train. That's something that you just did not expect whatsoever. It feels so generic when you're reading the first couple chapters, chapters that it's something that you consume to just engorge yourself with fluff. So when you're expecting fluff, but then you're dosed with poison, that doesn't mix. I very much recommend keeping up with this story because it's something that's incredibly engaging. And I think the reason that this manga does so good is because it's written by someone that's done other stories just like this. The story was written by a certain Maruto Fumiaki, the person that wrote How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, but more importantly, the person that wrote White Album 2, which, if you know anything about, is completely devastating for people that played that visual novel. So now knowing that piece of information, I think it makes a little bit more sense how the story ended up going the way that it did. It's in the same vein. Could you consider it trashy? Yeah, but it's not in the same way that like Domestic Girlfriend is trashy. That one is just, you know, over the top for the sake of over the top. This has nothing like that. There's no sisters involved or anything like that. This is more real world kind of drama that you would see from people whose lives you didn't know would ever intersect. This is an unfortunate circumstance for everyone that's involved here, and no one is at fault. And that is particularly what makes it so good. This is real drama right here, and I'm eating it up. And with that, I think that wraps up pretty much everything that I really wanted to talk about with this manga. I don't want to get too much further into it because, well, I don't really know where else the story's gonna go from here. I mean, literally, after this, the series can literally become a trash garbage fire, but I will be watching because it is still gonna be entertaining, I bet. I definitely recommend that if you haven't read it, give it a shot. Tell me what you think. If you have, let me know down in the comment section below just how you felt when you first saw that twist and what you saw when seeing the entire arc with Yuu and Yami. Did your perception on everything change, or did you end up just hating the story because you don't like the direction that it went into? Please, let me know down in the comments below. I want to know what you guys think about this manga. I think it's stellar. With this, as always, I was Randy, and I'll be seeing y'all next time.